Hey guys, Hoovy11 here, and welcome to a new video. It's been a while since I made anything on this channel, because, who knows what I did on any other channel. But I thought it would be a good time to come back, and I guess I'm gonna try making more videos. I've said this for so many times that, I don't know. I can't even think of a pun right now. It's just kind of sad, to be honest. But yeah. I really wanted to come back and entertain you guys with some of my schizophrenic takes on things that I like, and you guys probably like since you're here. And I just finished the discography of Static X a few days ago. And with that, I thought it's a good idea to go back and just rethink, basically, how do these albums pretty much hold up or stand. I'm also gonna let you know from now, I'm a bit sick, so and I'm also not reading this off a script, unlike the Slipknot albums ranked. Initially, I did want to make an album with that style, and this is kind of a hybrid of that and my older tier list videos, but again, I'm not reading of a script, and I'm also kind of sick, so this might suck a little, but if it's too distracting, just let me know in the comments, as a warning for the next video, because I'm pretty sure I'll do at least one or two more this year. But anyway, without further ado, and I believe that Static X does not need an introduction. So, without further ado, let's get into it. And, rest in peace, Wayne Static. Oh, and as a note, I'm telling you from now, towards the end of this reviewing Static X albums video, I will get a bit into the background of this band and basically express my opinion about what has happened with Static X for the past 15 years. I'd say since Cult of Static has released, but again, it's gonna be a bit spicy, so if you guys don't wanna hear me just expressing some pretty potentially controversial opinions, then you can just stop watching this video, or maybe up until Cannibal, so I warned you. Okay guys, first album, Wisconsin Death Trip, released on March 23rd, 1999. A pretty successful album, probably the band's most successful, but correct me on that. However, this is an objective fact that I'm gonna spit out. This is the most liked album by them. This is usually the fan favorite. And for me personally, I'm just gonna cut out the crap. This does apply to me as well. This was the third Static X album I heard after a pretty big break. So, again, the first album I heard was Cannibal, that was in very early 2020, and then I heard Shadow Zone in the summer of 2020. At that time, I did like Static X, but I wasn't a very big fan. However, almost 2 years later, I don't know exactly what made me want to try listening to this album again, but again, I guess I was into nu metal. I had like a little phase again where I was being very interested in nu metal again. I think it was mostly thanks to American Head Charge's The War of Art, because I really love that album. And I did see people praising this album a lot, even alongside that one, and it pretty much made me want to try it and give it a fair shot, because I was always that type of guy who was like, Wisconsin Death Trip, yeah, it's a cool album from just the few songs that I heard, but it's not amazing. And my god, I was wrong. Like, the first time when I listened to this album from beginning to end was in May 2022, and it definitely is my favorite album. This is very unique and interesting, and well-made album. I cannot compare it to anything really. It is very unique in its own thing. It's super catchy, it's heavy, it's mechanical, it even has these like rappy bursts, which I really like, and even glimpses of, like, in my opinion at the very least, it even has these like glimpses of, I'd say, Nine Inch Nails and Fear Factory. I guess you can say it's actually kind of like a combination between them, but at this point almost every industrial band with like melodic vocals gets compared to Nine Inch Nails, so whatever. But it's a very, I mean, look, it's not a very complex album by any means, but whatever style it incorporates, it's just made incredibly well. So with that being said, I loved every track on this album from beginning to end. It's a trip. The production is amazing. Wayne's performance is the best here, I like to think. He just sounds insane, okay? The riffs are really cool, it's catchy, the drums simplistic but work fine. The electronics, I think, it even has like this perfect balance of like heavy parts and electronic synthy parts. It's just really good. Again, Push It, great opener. I'm With Stupid, song I really like as well. Bled for Days, cool track. Love Dump, love the song. Otsegolation is really awesome as well. It's such a crazy track, actually. I Am, my bad, it's I Am and then Otsegolation. I'm telling you in order of track list. I Am is also really good. In fact, I do like it better than Otsegolation, but Stem is probably the song that bought me. I think that's the song that made me like. So up until Stem, I was really having fun, but when I heard Stem, I was like, yeah, fuck it, this rocks. So Stem is really good, and if you didn't listen to it, I'm suggesting you should listen to it. Sweat of the Body is also really great. Fix, it's very good. Wisconsin Death Trip is good. The trance is the motion, a bit different from the rest of the album, but I really like it in the summer as well. So I don't know why did I have to review every song. I think the whole album is great from beginning to end. I have nothing else to add, I think. This is peak Static X. This is a great example of new metal and even industrial metal. So with that being said, if you have not given this a shot, please do. I'm going to rate these albums, just a heads up, I'm gonna rate these albums not by numbers like X out of 10 or whatever, but by letters, basically as in tier lists, and maybe at the end I'm gonna leave like a picture similar to a tier list, or pretty much just exactly that. So for me, this is an S tier album, like an easy S tier, especially within the context of this band's ranking. I would say that this is like an S plus. So yeah, this is really good. So yeah. Alright, next is Machine, released on 22nd May 2001. And this is a pretty interesting album, but more so background wise. What do I mean by that? Well, I'd like to think that the only, I'd say, normal Static X album, and if you're not like a hardcore fan of the band, or if you don't really care to check the rest of their discography, because to be honest, they have their own style, and they do kind of change it on the next album that I'm going to talk about in just a moment, but overall, they're just Static X. So this, the previous album, my bad, Wisconsin Death Trip pretty much represented that perfectly. Everything was fine for the band, they were successful, so that's like a must listen. However, starting with this album, problems started to arise. Guitarist Koichi Fugada, I'm not sure if I spelled that right, he left the band in 2000, I think, or maybe even 2001, so it was kind of around the time that this album was being recorded, and Kenji, I believe, which he's a band's drummer, or he used to be the drummer at the time, he also left the band roughly around the same time, maybe even before Koichi. But Yeah, this album is pretty weird. Um, I listened to this album. I think this is the third last album I heard. I heard this last summer, so I still heard like a few albums in between after this one. And I have some very mixed feelings on it, to be honest. It's entirely written by Wayne, apparently, and I guess it kind of shows because the songwriting can be extremely dull at times. Like, look, I'll tell you this. This is a pretty consistent album. Like, I don't think it's a bad album, but the songwriting is just very weak and it can be extremely dull at times, as I said, and it's quite obvious why. I mean, it does explain the reason behind it, that, but I do like a few songs, quite a lot. Songs such as Get to the Gone, which is pretty much the introduction for the album. I think it's a really good song. It's one of the band's best songs, matter of fact. It's very in your face, and it's a rager. It's probably heavier than any other song from Wisconsin Death Trip, and I might want to add this. I think, I'm not sure, I guess this song was a bit heavier than Wisconsin Death Trip, but I might be just tripping. Yeah, very funny, very funny. But okay, Permanence I also really like. Otsego Undead, I think, is probably my favorite Otsego song. It's just really catchy, and Cold too. And I guess that's pretty much it for highlights. But I'll just say this again. Although I don't think it does have like a lot of highlights, the album was overall very consistent. I listened to it, I think, twice or maybe three times. And I guess I did start liking more and more each time. But at the same time, there were no like new songs that did leave an impact on me, to be honest. So I don't know. I mean, it's a good album. It has a production that I think is pretty much a step up from Wisconsin Death Trip. The guitars sound punchier, and I guess that's it in terms of production. Because other than that, I don't think it has regressed or progressed much at all. So yeah, I guess that's it. I'm gonna rate this a B tier, like just a normal B. Not a B plus, not a B minus. It's just a B tier. It's a good album. It does have a lot of problems, in my opinion, but again, those were not like, they were not like a big deal, and it's just, I guess, that I suppose. I mean, it is what it is. I don't have much else to add. I do think that this album did kind of represent where Static X were heading from this point on, but to be honest, the album I'm going to talk about just now was still a surprise. So let's get to that. Alright, next album, Shadow Zone, released on 7th October 2003. This is a pretty interesting album, to say the least. I mean, I said A Machine was interesting, but this is an even more so interesting album. Well, it is a pretty big departure from the first two albums. It sounds like Horde quite a lot at times, especially during the choruses. But why is this? Well, apparently Jonathan Davis, while working on the soundtrack for the Queen of the Damned film, he contacted Wayne to do a song, and I guess that gave Wayne some ideas for the next Static X album to, I don't know, show that he loves Jonathan Davis. I don't know. I mean, I love Korn, but I don't understand why he would change the sound like this. But to be fair, it's not a very big change. My issue with this album is that the songwriting, although they changed their sound a bit and they tried something new, it does sound pretty damn bland at times. It's a pretty I mean, it's not a bad album. I would say this is also not a bad album. This is a good album as well, out of the way, letting you know. But it does have some really bland moments. I mean, I re-listened to this album as well, just recently, and I can barely remember whatever was going on here. I mean, look, I have nothing against them trying to change their sound, but let's consider this. This was released in 2003. Nu metal was kinda dying, but still, it was pretty popular. I mean, Meteora from Linkin Park and Fallen from Evanescence came out that year, and they were both really successful, right? This is quite clearly an attempt to get some clout, if I can apply this term for this album and that time. But still, it's quite clearly made just kinda as a cash grab at the very least, which pains me to say because I love Static X, but from all these albums, this is the one that does, with all honesty, seem like a cash grab. But enough about this. I'm gonna talk about the songs themselves. Again, I don't think this is bad. Like, there's no bad song on this album per se, but again, very consistent. But again, the songwriting is just really weak for the most part. I do like Destroy All, Control It, Shadow Zone, Monster, The Only. So I actually do kind of like, but that's kind of it. And it's also a pretty short album compared to the last two at the very least. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. There are people who really like this album, and I do kind of get it, but at the same time I don't really. I guess if you really want to hear some Korn in your Static X, but you don't want to switch to Korn, I guess you can listen to this. I mean, these guys are not exaggerating. It does really sound like Korn at times. But, yeah, it's not really a big deal. I mean, who cares? Who cares? Why do I care? A B tier album, with all honesty. Maybe I'm B minus, but either way, still a B. So, yeah, moving on. Next album, Start a War, released on 14th June 2005. Now, this album, I feel like, is probably the most interesting one from the Wayne Static era, like, while he was alive. It's a very all styles combined type of album. It has, I feel like, a bit of everything that has been out till this point. I feel like the production is also way rougher than Shadow Zone, and probably the roughest, like, from all those first four albums. And there are like a lot of weird experimental things that they do. Now I don't exactly remember the songs, but for example, I Want to Fucking Break It has like a weird circus beat or something like that. And Brain Fog was basically the bonus track from Brain Fog. There is like an a cappella version of, I believe, Otsego Amigo, and there was like a dubstep, drum and bass hybrid type of like instrumental, which I thought was really cool. Like, I don't know, it's a lot of stuff going on this album. They tried to do like some other things. They tried to combine Shadow Zone. They didn't completely remove that mainstream sound, but it's definitely heavier here. Like, this album is way heavier than Shadow Zone. And I do think it's also not as consistent, unfortunately, as Shadow Zone. Because, again, when you try to like bring all these elements in, it can be a bit of a mishmash, and it can sound a bit disjointed. It's obvious that it can suffer from an issue like this. And, I mean, it does, but it's not like a very big problem. Overall, I do think I like this better than Shadow Zone, since I'm comparing this album to that one. The Enemy, I'm the One, Start a War, Pieces, Third House, Skinny Man, which I heard in guess, I'll let you guess. And I've been hooked on that song ever since. Just in case, I think it's one of my favorites. I Want to Fucking Break It, as I said, Night Terrors, Otsego Amigo, My Damnation, Brain Fog. Again, very, very good album. It does have a few songs I don't really care for, so I guess I'm taking my words back, as now that I looked on the tracklist again, it is a pretty consistent album. And when it's actually It does actually have songs that are better overall than Shadow Zone and even Machine. And I like this album because it's actually it really kept me engaged. I was really engaged while listening to this album because I didn't know what to expect next. I think this is the most creative album, maybe aside from Wisconsin Death Trip. And funny thing is, again, a point I'm probably gonna bring up later. I do hear a lot from this album. I do hear a lot of it in Project Regeneration Volume 1 and 2. So I guess maybe it's because the demos were made during the sessions of this album, well, during Start of War, but either way. It's an A-tier album. I think it's a pretty great album. It's interesting. It was very interesting. It can be engaged. I think Wayne sounds amazing here. I like the combination of like old Static X and new at the time Static X. Everyone is on point, I feel like, but they just have other albums. So let's get on. Okay guys, next is Cannibal. Released on 3rd April 2007. It's an album that pretty much twists everything that they have been building up until Start of War. I think it's an album that is extremely different, but at the same time, at the core and with its spirit, I guess you can pretty much hear the early stages of the band, more precisely Wisconsin Death Trip, Static X era. Now, funny for me, this was the first album I heard by Static X, as I said, in very early 2020, and I honestly really liked it. Funny, it's really funny because this is their heaviest album by a long shot. It's extremely angry, it's trashy, it's crazy even with some of the riffs and the vocals and all that. It barely even takes a break if you ask me. But regardless, even if it came out in 2007, it does sound a bit outdated even by that point. Man, it's really fun. Like, this is peak industrial metal fun. Okay, maybe not as much as Wisconsin Death Trip, but still really well made. And I'll just go ahead and probably, unsurprisingly, I'll go ahead and say this. This is the second best release with Wayne Static. It's really good. I really like all the tracks with Behemoth, Chemical Logic, 40 Ways, Chromomatic, and Goat being my favorites. But I honestly love the whole album. It's very heavy. It even incorporates solos, guitar solos from Koichi, and honestly they land just right on this album. The drumming is also pretty crazy at times. It's very mechanical. It sounds very, very mechanical, just like on Wisconsin Death Trip. But again, what I think that this album lacks and Wisconsin Death Trip has is simply the better songwriting. This feels more raw. It feels a bit unpolished at times, and I understand that this is in the album's favor, but at the same time, it's basically what made Wisconsin Death Trip so good, and this album is lacking. So, yeah. But regardless, I love this album. It's very heavy. It's crazy. It's pretty melodic at times. The electronic samples and parts sound fucking awesome. The guitar solos are cool. It's a really good album. Solid A tier. An A plus, maybe even, if you want me to be more specific. Go ahead and try this out. There are people who really don't like this album, but there are also a few Static X fans that really love it, and I'm one of them. Metal Trenches, shout out to him. He also does. He kind of reminded me how much I loved this album back in 2020, and yeah, it's really good. Give it a shot. Okay, now it's time for Cult of Static. It's time to talk about Cult of Static. Released on March 17th, 2009. This is also the last album with Wayne Static and was the last album up until 2020, making it the longest gap between the an album's release in the band's discography. And in case, maybe if you're not a fan, but if you're not a fan, I mean, if you are a fan, my bad, and you don't really know what this album is really about and the controversy behind it, controversy as in, you know, being kinda shitty, well, let me enlighten you on that. So, in my opinion, and once again, out of the way, I'm telling you, this album is a total mess. Like, I don't even know if it's a good album. Like, this is probably the only Static XL I'll say I'm not sure if it's good. It's weird. The name itself of the album, Cult of Static, the album cover, that Wayne in the middle surrounded by a crowd of Waynes and Terras, and oh yeah, I didn't mention this, but just before they started working on this album, maybe around the time they were recording it, but before they put out this album, 2009, Wayne Static married Terra Ray, and if you guys don't know who she is, then I can blame you. I mean, I didn't know myself. She used to be a porn actress, but I think she pretty much retired around the same time that they married. Then they married in early 2008, and many people recall that Wayne used to be obsessed with her. Again, recollections, observations, and all that jazz. Again, I don't really know, but again, from what I noticed, and this whole album's mere existence kind of proves that. So it's weird that Wayne around this time and up until his death, unfortunately, once again, may he rest in peace, but what the fuck, dude? Up until his death and starting from the time he married Terra, he pretty much just kind of stopped caring for the rest of the band, and he kind of started to act like an egomaniac. And I told you guys that this was about to get pretty spicy, and in a way he kind of reminds me of myself when I used to be infatuated with a particular person while I was working on Fabian Schroeder Cut Off Their Foreskin. I think this is not a surprise, and I'm pretty sure it's not exactly a mystery what I'm talking about here. But anyway, back to Wayne. It's very weird, and not only the way that the album is presented, not only that is extremely odd, but also the album itself, like the music within this album, is not really good. What is presented here is like lower of the barrel industrial metal, industrial rock, industrial hardness. I mean, it's pretty heavy, and it does kind of hit you at times, but oh my god, let me get out of this way as well. The production is awful. Like, damn, I am not kidding when I say that this is one of the worst productions I've ever heard in any album. This might be the second time I'm saying this, but anyway, it's really bad. It honestly sounds like it's not mastered, like it's a rough demo. Like, this album really does sound like that. And dude, it just sounds really unpolished, but like in a bad way. Where while in Star of War it did sound kind of raw, it also sounded pretty well produced. Like, I don't know, here I don't even know how to explain it, but if you listen to Star of War and then listen to this album, I think you'll know what I mean. It just sounds very unfinished, and it really bothers me. And again, the songwriting itself is also not really good. I'll go ahead and analyze every song each, but just like in a summary, okay? I'm not going to go too much in detail. So, Lunatic, I think, is a pretty good song, but that solo, made by Dave Mustaine, is not really that good. It's just, I don't know how to even say it. It doesn't fit it with the rest of the song. It just doesn't. It sounds really out of place. And yeah, somebody should have told Dave to keep his solos for Megadeth. I'm not even a big fan of Megadeth, but I am aware that Dave can be a good guitarist. He's just not fitting with this song and maybe even Static X in general. It's just not fitting. Alright, Z28. I think this song is pretty forgettable. Terminal, I really didn't like. Hypure or Hypure, I'm not sure how to spell it. I don't really like it either. Terrified is pretty good. Stingray is also pretty good. UMI, Azolator, Nocturnally. Like, these three songs, these are the worst on the album, and they are extremely forgettable. Like, while I was listening to these, I almost fell asleep. And just a matter of fact, I did listen to this album pretty recently, just not even a week ago. Again, at the time I'm recording this on 25th November 2024. So yeah, I really don't like these three. Skinned is okay. I'm gonna say this. Skinned is pretty good, but Grind to Halt is honestly my favorite on this album. It has a very infectious synth and a lead guitar that I think is really good, and it sounds pretty unique. But again, it is indeed a bit dragged down by the production. So the only songs I do legitimately like are Grind to Halt and Stingray. Skinned and Terrified and Lunatic are okay, they're pretty good, and the rest, pretty shit, in my opinion. This is like one of the worst albums I think I've heard in my life, and I'd compare it to Slim Nas The End so far, but honestly, if I have to pick which one of these is better, it's a pretty tough choice. I guess I don't know actually. But again, both of these albums are quite similar, especially since they both have their last track as the best on the album. But yeah, that's all I can say. I'm getting sick of it already. I'm very disappointed. But again, even if it's one of the worst things I heard, to be honest, I do automatically, by default, check albums that are good and are talked about by people in a positive light. The reason why I listened to this album is actually, and as you may have noticed, this is the last album I've listened to from them, is because I was already very infatuated and very into Static X, right? Because otherwise, I wouldn't have listened to this, and I wouldn't recommend it to any newcomer in whatsoever. In any case, I would not recommend it. So yeah, that's why I listened to it. But again, not a really good album. It's a, I'm not gonna say a D tier. I think I've heard worse, but a C tier, hell yeah it is. It's a C tier. And it's a shame what happened after this album. I'm gonna give it a short summary here as well. So things would go to shit very quickly, and I'll try to explain my best, but not make it too long. So they would tour up until late 2009, and after that, a lot of problems would arise within the band. Wayne's substance abuse that was getting really worse day by day. The rest of the band would not be very appreciative of that. And because of that, it's often even speculated that that's why Wade performed with Pig Hammer and formed Pig Hammer, because there were just a lot of problems within the band. And after that, he did tour with his solo band, but under the name of Static X. Tony and the rest of the band were not a fan of that, or maybe it's only Tony, correct me on that. And he did change, he removed the name basically and just performed with his real name. But again, without any other Static X members. And he did perform with his real name for just like a year, and that would suddenly stop on 1st November 2014, on the day he died. And that leads us to the next Static X album, and the first released after Wayne's death, and the first in 11 years. Project Regeneration Volume 1, released on 10th July 2020. Now, I'm not going to go too much into the background recording of this album or what was going on. with the band during the time this album was being made, recorded. But apparently Tani, Koichi, and Ken, so Oshiro didn't come back, or I guess they didn't bother calling him, they thought it was a good idea to revive Static X. And they started working on both this album, this volume in particular, and volume 2 during this period. And I'll just say this, I listened to this album a year and a half ago. I think this was technically the 4th album I heard. And oh my god. A lot of people have mixed feelings on this album and the second volume as well, but I love it. I don't know what exactly did they do, what were they thinking, because my god, this hits so hard. Now, with or without Wayne, you can definitely hear and see and feel that his spirit was still retained within these songs. But wow, man, it's a really good album. Like, the production is good. Edsol's vocal, it's speculated it's Edsol. Edsol's vocals are insane. I'd say they are probably better than Wayne at some points, and I can't believe I'm saying this because I'm not a Dope fan, so I don't know what the hell is going on here, but whatever, I'm not complaining. The drums are really hard, the guitar riffs, they hit me so hard, and the bass is really loud and punchy as well. Man, this album and the second volume as well, they are the best produced albums in this band's discography, which, I mean, logically shouldn't be a surprise, but considering how many other bands function with, you know, their latest albums don't really have great productions, and often actually their older ones have better productions, such is the case for Slipknot, I have to say. Well, it's the opposite here, so congratulations, Static X. My man, this album is really good. Like, I don't know what else I can say. I love it. At some point I even thought it was my favorite from Static X. Regeneration, the introduction, is a good way to get you warmed up. Hollow is a good song. We're Dying For, good song, very catchy. Terminator Oscillator, banger. All These Years, banger. Accelerate, another really good banger. Bring You Down, good banger. My Destruction, really good. Something on My Own, really great. Otsego Placebo, really great. Follow, really awesome. Dead Souls is the song I'm not particularly too crazy about, but come on, that's just a single song. And to be fair, that's also the case for Volume 2, but we'll get to that. But man, I mean, what else do I have to say? I mean, I'm fucking tired as well, but I love you guys, okay? I love you. I have to do this video for you. Well, I love all the songs, man. All of them are great. I think that this is one of the best albums from the industrial metal genre and almost everything associated with it. It's a really good album. It's very consistent. It's heavy. It's melodic. It's cyberpunk even. Some people call this album cyber metal, and I can see why. It's their most cybernetic album in a way. It's really good. It feels futuristic. It feels of the past as well. But man, just listen to it, okay? Give it a shot. It's really good. This is an easy S tier for me. It's not my favorite Static X album, but it's my second favorite. As I said, at some point I did think it probably is my favorite, but nah, I guess Wisconsin Death Trip is still the GOAT for me. But man, this is one of the better albums I heard from like all these legacy bands. This is how you do a comeback album right. It just rocks. All the songs here are too fucking good. I mean, even no matter the background that this album has, I will still love it because the songs are just that good. Like, all of them. And again, I do understand why some people might feel a bit uneasy about this album and the second volume as well. But again, I'm trying to judge the music only on the music itself, which is why I'm a Marilyn Manson fan and Burzum. But anyway, yeah, this is what I think of this album. So let's move along to the final album of the discography and probably their last overall. Oh crap, okay. And now we have finally arrived. The final album from Static X. Maybe forever, maybe just up to this point. Whatever, the last album for this video that we have to review is Project Regeneration Volume 2, released on 26th January 2024, this year. Now, just a little background coming from my part this time. I was a fan while they were basically preparing to launch Volume 1, but I just didn't really care about it because, as I said when I was reviewing Wisconsin Death Trip, I believe, I was just not really a big fan. So, yeah, I mean, I didn't really care for them. So, and I barely knew any other albums, so I was like, whatever. But it was different with this one. I was really anticipating this album initially, and from what I remember, they wanted to release this album in November last year, I believe. I don't remember the day, but I'm pretty sure it was November. However, they postponed it to January for some reason. I don't know. Whatever. I guess they wanted to cook it properly, and I mean, I'm a chef when it's about music, I mean, which is why I'm doing this. So, it's fair. It's all good and fair. And, well, I was just simply... I couldn't have any patience. Like, I couldn't wait for this to drop out. I even tried to look out for leaks, but I didn't have any success with this one, which is weird because I usually do, but let's keep this a secret, okay? And the album finally drops on 26th January, as I said. From the moment it gets released, from the moment it's out, I would listen to it. And what can I say? I mean, it does truly sound like the second volume from the first. It sounds like the sequel, I guess, to Volume 1. I mean, unsurprisingly so. But unfortunately, and I'm pretty sure this is not like an uncommon opinion in this community of Static X fans, but it is pretty much Volume 1, but weaker in almost every aspect, which kinda hurts to say, and which is why I'm a bit reluctant to talk about this one, because I do feel like I didn't spend enough time listening to it. I mean, yeah, but I mean, I'm not sure, because I did listen to Cult of Static and Star War after this, so I don't know, but it's... I don't know. I'm not sure, but it feels like it's too early. But I don't know, I guess I'm just trying to defend this album because, man, I really loved Volume 1, but this one is kind of weak compared to that one. I don't know, at first I did kind of think they were like toe-to-toe, but with time, as months went on, I did kind of realize that it's not really on the same level. And it sucks to say, but it's true. But again, a major drop, it is not. I'm gonna review the songs. Again, the production and pretty much almost everything has retained from the first volume. I mean, again, obviously. But again, songwriting wise, again, it's actually similar to most double albums here. I'd actually compare it to Metallica's Load and Reload. Again, the first volume had the better songs, and again, even though the second volume conceptually and stylistically is still the same thing, it just simply has the songs that I feel like are weaker. It does apply here as well. The difference is that these albums are way better than those from Metallica, but anyway, as I was trying to say, the songs themselves, Stay Alive and Zombie, are pretty good. Definitely not bad, but I might skip them sometimes. Jig Boy, I really like. Black Star is one of my favorite Static X songs. I really love it. It's really groovy, it's really fun, and it has a catchy chorus. Kamikaze is also one of my favorites. Probably the heaviest and the most schizo and get out of my way song type of from this album. It reminds me a lot of Terminated Oscillator, but still not very samey, you know, they're just similar. No Hope is pretty good. Take Control has one of the best riffs from this band, really good. Tone is pretty good. Run for Your Life, again, another trashier song, but I do prefer Kamikaze over it, still pretty good. Dark Place, I do like, I guess. Disco Tsigo, one of my favorite songs from this album, but not overall. And From Heaven, I guess from both of these albums is my least favorite. It's a nothing burger, really. And since this album has released together with these bonus tracks, I'm gonna talk about them as well. Terrible Lie, I remember the Nine Inch Nails cover. Yeah, it's a cover of that song. When it came out, I didn't really care for it. I listened to it when the album dropped out, and it's a pretty good cover. Some people seem to hate it. I don't. I think it's okay. So, yeah, I don't know. And Grover Yoda Data 14. This song is actually pretty good. I do like it, and I kind of wish it replaced, I don't know, I suppose No Hope, or, I don't know, Tone maybe. But yeah, that's kind of the thing. This album does remind me a lot of Start a War. There are some really good songs here, and there are definitely some very memorable moments, but it's also like, I don't know how to explain, like, at its core, it's also kind of different, because, like, Start a War did try to do some cool new things, I guess. Well, this one is just a continuation to Volume 1. So, yeah. I mean, simply put, the songs that didn't make the cut for the first volume, which even the band probably considers to be superior, ended up here. But with all that being said, I don't hate this album. I still think it's pretty great. It's just one of these albums that I like not as much as the others. I think it's practically in the latter half and not in the first half of my ranking, if I can like rank it one by one. Again, a lot of people didn't like this when it released, and even now, again, it's not like it's been 10 years, but still, I do like it, but it is a drop from the first volume, like, undoubtedly. It's still an A tier. I'm gonna say this, it's still an A tier album, but not very great. It's not like, it's pretty disappointing. I guess that's the word I'm looking for, disappointing. It's just not really on the same level as the first volume, and that kind of hurts. But yeah, A tier is still pretty good if you ask me. I mean, Korn didn't get an A tier, Linkin Park didn't get an A tier, even Slipknot. Okay, this joke is getting old. So yeah, but again, I don't know exactly what will happen to Static X after this album. Again, I don't have much to say regarding this little problem, maybe. I don't know, they seem to want to keep on Wayne's legacy, to keep it alive. Wait, is there a song of this album called Keep It Alive? Or maybe it was on the first volume? Wait a second. Whatever. I tried to make a pun, but yeah, I failed. Forget about this. And yeah, as I said, it's obvious they're trying to keep Wayne's hope and legacy alive with this. I am not really feeling any foul play here. I don't think they're doing this only for the money. I mean, of course they do it for the money, but not only for that. I think they're really doing it to honor their friend. So, yeah. And I don't know what will happen after this, basically. I mean, I think they're still touring as of now, but not sure if we will get any more material or any albums from them anytime soon. And I think this is where I'll end the video as well. I mean, it is as long as it is already. I'm gonna leave a picture here to show you what, if there were a ranking, this is what it would look like. So, yeah. But again, this is where I'll finish this video. Thank you guys for watching. I don't know what else I can add. I think I'll do more rankings in the future, and honestly, I really enjoy doing these. I mean, what else can I do, because I'm just wasting my life at this fucking point. I'm unemployed, I don't really go to school, I'm losing friends, so I hope that this, at the very least, if I do these, I'll get some kind of success. I'm definitely just kidding. Yeah, this kind of sucks. Fucking ginger tea. But yeah, again guys, thanks for watching. if you have not listened to Static X, and if you want to know on your own what their music sounds like, I'm still really suggesting you do. And if you don't have the same opinions as I do, please let me know in the comments. Let's discuss. That's pretty much the reason why I'm putting this video. I want to see what everyone thinks and hear and actually read some spicy takes coming from you guys. So yeah, I'm really welcoming you with open arms to let out the most blasphemous and crazy takes you have on this band's music. But with that being said, I am signing off. Love you guys. I'll hear from you again soon, I hope, and take care.